All right, guys, welcome to another video. The new Archer Commander, the open field version, was just announced. Well, partly announced, right? Because we don't even know who it is. We don't know the actual numbers for the skill, but we at least have a general idea where this commander is going. So we're gonna, I guess, like react to this together. I've looked through this like twice now, so I haven't been able to think too much about it. Also, I do want to give some predictions on what I think is going to happen. Okay, so just like the Garrison commander that was announced, this commander also heals and then does true damage. Now, the first thing that stands out with the first skill is that it's probably going to be a secondary commander, right? Because if it's a primary commander, it's only going to do direct damage to a target troop. Whereas when it's a secondary commander, not only do you mighty heal, but also you deal true damage and you temporarily reduce the smart speed, which is okay, right? If I had to take a guess, I don't think it's going to be doing much damage at all. First thing I thought of was something like Trajan. Trajan, I think his active skill, you deal like a small amount of skill damage. Right? I mean, it's better than nothing, but people aren't really counting on that, like on Trajan to do a lot of damage, right? So if this commander is going to be a buffing march, which is what it looks like, it's probably skippable for most people, right? If you're a whale, probably. But as you see, as we get to talk about like possible pairings, I think this is probably skippable for most people. I think even looking at the kit, for a lot of people, they're probably going to think it looks kind of underwhelming, right? It doesn't really tell you much, but it looks like it's just going to be a tanky commander that's actually bringing a lot of healing to other troops. And then the troops that do get a healing, they do get a defense buff and deal more normal damage with expertise, which we'll go over. The second skill, right, doesn't say how much, right, but you're going to gain health and march speed. That's good. I expect this health to be relatively high, probably like 30%, just to make it a tankier commander, right? It would make sense if you have a march that's on the field. Its primary job is to buff and heal. You want to make it relatively tanky and fast enough. So, like, yeah, like if you could target it down, but is it worth it to actually burn this? March down, or is it better just to actually kill the DPS marches, right? I expected it to probably be like 30% if I had to take a guess. Third skill, you take less normal damage. Besides Ashurbanipal, who also takes less normal damage, so you can see it's almost like a direct counter to Smite. There's not a lot of other commanders I can think of, or any off the top of my head, that has a resistance essentially to Smite damage, right? So also, this is a really, really big one. Whenever this commander's troop uses an active skill, it's going to heal up to 3 nearby allied or friendly troops for a large portion of their slightly wounded units. This skill that has a cooldown time, right? So the cooldown time, if it's longer than 2 seconds, which most likely is, basically every skill cycle with the 2 commanders, only one of the active skill is going to be healing. Because if you could get double healing off every turn, I think that would be pretty ridiculous. If I had to take a guess, right, something like this one, if it's a single target, and then you get a mighty heal and you deal true damage, it'll probably be like a 2,500-ish, somewhere around there. At most 3,000. I can't see it going over 3,000. Probably about 2,500. And then this 3 nearby ally or friendly troop healing for a large portion. This is probably also like 2,000 to 2,500 if I had to take a guess, right? Because I'm just thinking, what would be good enough to make this commander like worth investing in, usable on the field, but not completely broken, right? So if every skill cycle you're actually healing 3 friendly troops, 2,000 to 2,500, it starts getting into that range when it's worth it. Now we're getting into the expertise, which also raises. If you heal a troop, the defense goes up, the normal damage go up, right? The buff also depends on that. But off the cuff, I think somewhere between 2,000 and 2,500, probably closer to 2,500, would be what I would guess for this healing for this third skill. The fourth skill, straight up, this commander's troop just takes less damage, right? It's probably like 10 or 15%. And then when it's on the map, this kind of reminds me of Constantine, when you reduce to a certain number of units remaining. So Constantine, I think it's like 50% of your units remaining, right? For this one, they didn't give a specific number or percentage yet, but let's just pretend it's 50%. You're going to get a big mighty heal, and then that can only be used once an hour unless you bring it into your city and reset, right? Now, when you get that big heal, you also do a little less damage, right? Where you do less damage, or you do lose the attack, but you also take a lot less damage, right? So it's just another mechanism where it makes this commander tanky, but also it'll be able to stay on the field longer, and it's going to sacrifice damage, whatever little damage it does have, to actually be even more tanky. Okay, and then finally, the expertise is whenever this commander heals a troop, right? So that third skill, you're actually, every time you use active skill, you heal 3 troops. The 3 troops that you heal will temporarily gain defense, and you're going to actually deal more damage, or more normal damage. So this to me is clearly like a healing buffing march that's not going to be doing a lot of damage out there, right? And if that's the case, you imagine a commander like this that does, for example, 2500 on the active skill for healing and true damage, and then the third skill where you're healing like troops around you, you're doing, let's just say, like 2000, right? You're not going to invest this as your first archer march. This is probably something you don't even think about unless you have like 5, 6, or 7 marches, and even then, could you find a better use for those slots? Maybe. It really depends on the numbers, but I don't think this commander is going to be exciting a lot of people right now. Possible pairings, first thing I thought of was actually Boudica. Boudica, because she also does a little bit of healing, and then she has a skill damage taken debuff, and she doesn't actually have a skill damage increase, right? So because this commander doesn't really need skill damage increase anyways, it's just doing true damage. Boudica is relatively tanky, especially for an archer, has some march speed. That might be a pairing, but probably the most likely best pairing for this commander will actually be the MGE commander, the Garrison commander. So let's actually review this kit again. All right, so the Garrison commander also does a mighty heal, except it's 5 targets, right? So if it's 5 target, you're going to heal, and you're going to actually do true damage to up to 5 nearby enemy troops. You could expect this to, probably be, if I had to take a guess, 2000 mighty heal / 5 target AoE true damage factor. And you lose the 15%, right? That's probably about, if I had to take a guess, where it's at. This archer's unit also gains defense and march speed. Right, it's probably going to be relatively tanky, right? I've had to take a guess, like 30% defense. March speed, I have no idea. Maybe like 15% for each, if I had to take a guess, right? If this commander's troops only contain archer units, it also deals more normal damage. This is kind of like interesting for the second skill. I'm not sure where they're going with the normal damage, right? But the third skill, just like with the field commander, it also takes less normal damage, right? So maybe in the Garrison even, you compare this with the open field commander, it's like a hard counter to Scipio. I heard the new Scipio is good, but it's not even like game breaking. And then already you're looking at the next archer cycle, it almost looks like it's hard countering smite damage. It's just very interesting that they're already going that route. We're not going to talk about the Garrison skill, just because we're talking more for open fielding. But this fourth skill is also really interesting, right? So it increases all healing this commander's troop receives. So if you're healing with the active skill of this commander, you're healing with the active skill of the field commander, and then the fourth skill increases the healing received for both active skills. Depending on the synergy, it could actually be really, really powerful, right? Also, there's a second part that's if the current target is a rallied army, so we're not going to go over that. And then finally, the expertise skill, you just get a lot more counterattack damage. So it looks like this commander, paired with the open field commander, is going to actually do a decent amount of normal damage. So like white damage, it's going to deal a lot more counter damage, right? And it's not relying on any kind of skill damage increase because it's going true damage for both. So if I had to take a guess, the best pairing probably would be with a Garrison commander. Maybe Boudica, if I had to not go off of the Garrison commander. Probably skippable for most people. If you're waiting I would actually be pretty confident. Like if you're waiting to see if the new Archer Commander is better than Herman or ZL, I'm pretty confident that if that was the thing you're worried about, just invest in ZL and Herman. This is like a march. This is like a marching, tanky, healing commander that's also going to heal your troops. Now, what's interesting with this is it actually might trade okay, because if it's able to keep their the troop count really high and it has a lot of ways to resist damage, you know, depending on how much true damage it's pumping out, it will actually probably do okay, because you know it will probably be able to deal decent amount of sevs. When there's a big differential between your troop count relative to the person you're hitting, the damage you're dealing to the target troop, that sev wound rate is going to be a lot higher. So maybe this will benefit a little bit from that, because that's actually part of the reason why Hoa does so well dealing sev. So maybe you could get some of this from that, but it really depends on how strong true damage is, and without actually seeing it in the game, it's hard to tell. But I would say this commander, probably, if I had to take a guess, pairs best with the Garrison commander. Maybe you could make a case for Boudica, but if it's the first one, right, where it pairs well with the Garrison commander, you're talking about dropping 1,400 gold heads to really make this combo usable. And then the other thing to think about is, okay, well, if this is the case, right, probably the formation that benefits this commander pairing the best will actually be the circle formation, in which you get a lot more healing, and then the special inscriptions, the rare inscriptions, also benefit healing. Tetsudo, you actually benefit from healing and shielding, but this one doesn't have shielding, right? So it would make sense to go for circle formation. Now, having said that, if you're pulling circle right now, the only way you could benefit from it is if it actually comes onto a commander like this, right? Like I guess you could maybe make a case for like Hoa, but you're not going to use circle for Hoa over Wedge, right? You're not going to use Richard in the field. It's very, very limited. I think the path Lilith is going down, or they have to change the armament system, right? Because right now there's just too many formations that aren't worth pulling for. I think where they're probably going to settle on, which funny enough is actually the second video I've ever made, is you're going to actually be able to select a blank armament. So you're just going to pull armaments in general. And then depending on the stat and the inscription, or knowing that there's an inscription there, then you can actually declare or select which formation you want to be part of. Right now, the way they're doing it, where you need to you have a pity system for like 150 wedge or 150 arch, like legendary, before you could pull a rare. I think they're going to probably end up combining that, where it's just X amount of legendary, regardless of the formation, and then every however many you get, you're going to get a rare. And then if you get X amount of rares and you don't get a special, then you're going to get a special, but you're actually going to be able to select the armament type and the inscription type. Now, do I wish that they just kind of listened to what I said in the video 8 months ago, 9 months ago, and just follow that, and would have just made this armament system way less clunky? Sure, you know, but I don't see how they could go down this armament path, releasing all these new formation types without making it universal like that starting out, to make it worth investing in. Or else who's going to pull for a circle formation right now just to get this commander in a good place? And even if you do pull for a circle formation, right, like it's not easy to get a special inscription or even a rare inscription, right? So there's just a lot of holes in the armament system for this commander if you want to use it. And if you did use this commander, you probably will have to invest in 1,400 gold heads for the open field, right? Or it's going to be something where maybe this commander is actually a lot more beneficial as the secondary commander to the Garrison commander in a Garrison, and not so much in the open field. A lot of it just depends on what the numbers are, but I think for most people, if you're waiting for the Archer for open fielding, you could just skip it. That would be my prediction right now. Other than that, I don't think I have anything else. But if you guys watched all the way to the end yet and you haven't, please like and subscribe to the video. Again, thank you guys for watching, and I'll talk to you guys next time.